Recently, I finished a couple videos where I talked about accredited versus non-accredited VA representatives, and I talked about the fees that an accredited representative can legally charge a veteran for working on a disability claim. And I did those videos for a couple reasons. One, because I thought it was worthwhile to get that information out there. And two, because I was laying the background for this video. So if you feel like you need some more information to understand what I'm talking about here, or just some of the concepts generally, I'll put links to those other videos below, and you can go check those out. So last fall, Representative Chris Pappas from New Hampshire introduced a bill into Congress. It was H.R. 8736, also called the Guard VA Benefits Act. And I'll put a link to this below. The bill is very short, and if passed, it would create, or actually reinstate, criminal penalties for anyone who charges a veteran a fee on a VA disability claim when that fee is against the law. The criminal penalties are fines and imprisonment. Now, it doesn't say, at least for right now, what the fines would be or what specific conduct would have to be done to land somebody in prison over this. But, the prospect of prison time is on the table with this law. I should add that the bill was introduced last Congress, and I haven't heard any word yet this Congress if it's being taken up or considered in any serious or meaningful way. We're still pretty new into the current Congress, so who knows? And it's pretty clear from the way it's written that this law is targeted directly at claims consultants. I mean, they are not accredited, and they are charging fees to represent veterans in disability claims. So by their very actions, they are charging illegal fees. The law would apply to an accredited representative who charges an illegal fee as well, but really, it's going after the consultants. I do think something like this should be on the books. Right now, we've got laws that say you can't represent a veteran and charge a fee unless you're accredited, and even then, the fee has to be reasonable and meet certain requirements. But unless you're accredited, there's no downside to violating the law. And so it begs the question, why have the law in the first place? Beyond that, I do think some of the claims consulting companies really are predatory. Not all of them, but I think some of them are. I think some of them, take advantage of the general lack of information that some veterans have, and they use high-pressure tactics to get veterans to agree to things that they wouldn't agree to if they had a more complete set of facts about, what's available to them and what can and can't be done, what fees can and can't be charged, for example. But I want to step back for a minute and just make the point that claims consultants wouldn't exist unless there was some type of demand for their services. And this all goes back to the VA. I mean, the VA could put all of us out of business tomorrow if it just stopped messing up claims. I mean, think about it. If the VA started getting all of these claims right the first time, then there'd be no work for the claims consultants. There'd be no work for me. There wouldn't be any work for the VSOs. I'm not saying that outfits like the American Legion would cease to exist, but if the VA is getting claims right, they don't have to employ veteran service officers to work on disability claims. But we don't live in that world. The VA messes up so many claims that there's so many veterans that need help. The VSOs can't do it all. Accredited representatives can't do it all. So there's more work to be done. And it's created this industry where the claims consultants can exist and thrive. Now, to be fair, those people can become accredited representatives. They can join the system that I've joined and use as an accredited representative. Now, they wouldn't be able to charge as much, and they would subject themselves to, certain punishments from the VA for breaking the law. I would propose that that's a good thing, but, they don't want to do that. And under the current laws, they don't have to. To be perfectly clear about it, we do have a situation where a lot of veterans are looking for information, and the free options that are out there, which do include this YouTube channel, aren't getting it done. They're not addressing all of the problems that veterans are having. And a lot of veterans are coming to the conclusion that the free help that they're getting, again, isn't getting it done. And they need something more involved that's going to meet their needs. So back to the proposed law. It would stop claims consultants, at least in their current form. Some of them would probably go away. Some would become accredited and kind of join the fold, so to speak. But my take on this law is probably different than what you might expect. And my first criticism is that I think it's a little bit too blunt. I'd like to see some clarity on what these fines would be and how egregious a person's conduct would have to be for them to end up in prison over something like this. But beyond that, I think there's a bigger problem in the area of VA representation. And it goes back to what I was talking about a little earlier when I was mentioning there's so much demand out there. Specifically, I'd like to see an option for what's known in legal circles as limited scope representation. So this is an idea that was born out of a realization that there's an access to justice problem in our society as a whole. And that's a bit of a fancy way of saying lawyers are too damned expensive for most people in most situations. So coming out of that, the idea of a limited scope representation allows people who either can't afford a full representation with an attorney or who just don't need that much help. They could do most of it themselves. And it allows those people to, sit down with an attorney where the attorney also doesn't have to commit to representing them through the entire case. Under the current rules, there's no way to legally charge a fee for doing something like that. And you can say, why don't you just do stuff like that for free? And the reality is I do from time to time. I don't do it often because it goes back to what I said in a previous video, which is there are very few people who can do this type of work in a serious way and not get paid by somebody. And then the question then becomes is who's going to pay them? Because if they do all of their work for free, eventually they're going to have to find something else to do. So getting back to the law that's been proposed, in addition to the criticisms I mentioned earlier, it would be nice to see the law include something that would allow a limited scope representation in the VA disability context. I don't think it's going to happen. And this law might not even be the right place to do it. But if it did happen, I think it could address some of that excess demand that's out there, because I think there's a lot of veterans that really can do most of this on their own, and they just need a little bit of help. They just need more help than what they're getting from the free resources, including Google and YouTube and all of that stuff. All right, so that's my overall take on this proposed bill and the overall situation we find ourselves in regarding VA disability claims. I think I've covered just about everything I want to say on this topic, at least for now. Although I realize that putting that in a video is probably going to make me eat my words in very short order, but we'll see. In any case, I do want to get back to other VA issues, or I should say veteran issues, and not just this representation and fee stuff. So anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. If you'd like me to help you with your VA claims, you can reach out to me through the links below. I'm Al Walsh, a veteran who likes to help other veterans. Thanks for watching.